Hello everyone, welcome to Genius Blossom. In this part of the video, we are exploring the fifth lesson of CBSE class 10 Science Biology, the life processes. In this chapter, we are exploring the introduction, nutrition and autotrophic nutrition. Let us begin with a simple question. How can we tell whether something is alive or not? It is easy when we see a dog running, a man shouting, or a cow chewing. We see them moving and we immediately know they are alive. But now imagine this. What if that dog or cow is sleeping quietly? What if that man is just sitting still? Even without any movement, we still say, yes, they are alive. Why? Because we can see them breathing. And now think about plants. They don't walk, run, or shout. Yet we know they are living things. Then some of might say because they are green. But not all plants have green leaves. Some are red or yellow too. Then how do we know they are alive? Because we have seen that plants grow over time, and so we usually connect movement like breathing or growing with life. But here is the twist. What if a plant doesn't grow visibly for several days, or what if an animal breathes silently without any chest movement? Does that mean they are not alive? Not at all. They are still alive even when no external movement is seen. So now we ask an important question. If we don't always see movement, what tells us something is alive? The answer, it lies inside the body. That is, all living beings, it shows a special kind of movement called molecular movement, and these are tiny movements happening inside the cells which we cannot see with our eyes. We cannot see the molecular movement or the tiny movement happening inside the cells. And let me give you a simple example that when you are sleeping, your body looks still, but inside, your heart is beating, your lungs are working, and your cells are breaking down food to release energy. And these are all examples of molecular movements, and they happen all the time in all living things. This is what keeps the body active, healthy, and alive. And that's why scientists say molecular movement is a true sign of life. And even if there is no visible movement, if molecules are moving inside the body, the organism is still alive. That is, the visible movements like breathing and growth help us recognize life. But when movement is not seen, we must look deeper. That is, molecular movement inside cells is always present in living organisms. That is why molecular activity is an important feature of life. Then, why are these molecular movements needed for life? To understand that, let us go back to something you already know, that is from your earlier classes. You have learned that all living organisms have a very organized body structure. For example, the body is made up of organs like heart, lungs, brain, etc., and these organs are made of tissues, and tissues are made of cells. And inside the cells there are tiny parts like the nucleus, mitochondria, and other components, and all these things are arranged in a very specific and ordered way. And that order is what keeps the organism alive and working properly. But here is the problem. The environment is always trying to disturb this order with heat, cold, infections, or other changes. And if this organized structure starts to break down, the organism will stop working and eventually it will die. So, what must a living being do? It must constantly repair and maintain itself. That means replacing damaged parts, cleaning out waste, sending useful molecules to the right places, taking in food and oxygen, sending out waste products. And to do all that, the organism must keep moving molecules inside its body all the time. That is why molecular movement, it is not just a sign of life, it is the reason life can continue. That is, it helps the body stay organized, balanced, and alive, stay alive. And that is, the all organisms are well organized systems made of tissues, cells, and molecules. Environmental changes, it can disturb this structure, and so living beings must repair and maintain their internal order, and this is done through continuous molecular movement inside the body. Now that we understand how living beings need to constantly repair and maintain their internal structure, then what exactly are the processes that help keep us alive even when we are doing nothing at all? Even when you are just sitting quietly in class, or even when you are fast asleep, your body is still working silently, keeping your heart beating, lungs breathing, cells repairing, and waste being removed. And this silent work, it is done by a set of organized processes, and these are what we call life processes. That is, life processes, they are the essential activities that every living organism must perform to stay alive and maintain its body, no matter whether it is a single celled amoeba or a human being. And to carry out these processes, the body needs energy. Why? Because maintaining life is hard work. Without energy, the body can't function and systems would slowly break down. So, where does this energy come from? Yes, we get energy from food, but that food, it is outside the body. That is, we call it as food outside the body. So we need a way to bring that food in, break it down, and convert it into usable energy inside the body. And the name of that process is nutrition. And so now we say life process, it begins with nutrition, because it is through nutrition that organisms bring in energy rich materials. What about growth? If an organism has to grow, it needs more than just energy, it also needs raw materials, that is, the substances to build new cells, tissues, and organs. And these materials, just like food, must come from outside the body. That is why nutrition plays two major roles. That is, first one, providing energy, and the second one, supplying building blocks for growth and repair. And here is a fascinating fact that most food materials used by living organisms, they are made of carbon based molecules, because life on earth is carbon based. And so whether it is green plant taking in carbon dioxide and water, or a human eating rice or fruit, all food sources ultimately provide carbon compounds to the body. And depending on how simple or complex these carbon sources are, different organisms, they follow different types of nutrition. So what are life processes? Life processes are the essential functions that maintain life, and these include nutrition, respiration, transport, and excretion. And they happen even when we are resting or asleep, and all these processes, they require energy, and that energy comes from food. And nutrition helps in both energy supply and growth. Now that we understand food provides energy and materials for life, but is just eating food enough to get energy? Not really. Even after nutrition, the energy is still stored inside the molecules of food, and that energy must be released in the form the body can actually use. And the environment outside us, it is not always the same. Different organisms live in different conditions, and the food available around them can vary. So the sources of energy we consume may also differ, and that is something we cannot always control. That is why our body needs a special system to process whatever food is available and convert it into one uniform source of energy that all cells can use. And how does the body do this? Through a series of chemical reactions that happen inside us every second. And these reactions break down food molecules, especially carbon based ones, into simpler compounds and release energy stored within them. And these are called oxidation reduction reactions. And it is one of the most common and efficient ways to extract energy from food is by oxidizing it. And for that, the body needs one essential thing. Do you know what it is? Oxygen. That brings us to one of the most important life processes, the respiration. Respiration, it is the process by which organisms take in oxygen from outside and use it to break down food molecules like glucose, then to release energy that powers everything in the body, from movement to repair to growth. And this energy is used for all those molecular movements inside our cells, the ones we can't see but which keep us alive every second. And we have now seen how respiration helps break down food molecules and release energy. But how do organisms actually take in food and oxygen and get rid of waste? Let us begin with the simplest life forms, that is single celled organisms like amoeba. And these tiny organisms, they are in direct contact with their environment on all sides. So they don't need any special organs for taking in food, exchanging gases or removing waste. Everything simply moves in and out by diffusion across their body surface. So diffusion is enough for them for doing all the body processes or life processes. But what about bigger multicellular organisms like us? As the body becomes larger and more complex, not all cells are close to the outside environment and cells deep inside the body, and they can't get food or oxygen directly from outside, and they can't easily throw out waste on their own. So here is the problem: how do we deliver food and oxygen to all body parts and collect waste from them? The answer lies in how nature solves problems with specialization. Just like we have specialized eyes to see and ears to hear, but now these things are taken up at only one place, like the mouth for food or lungs for oxygen. So we need a system to carry food and oxygen to every cell and carry waste away from cells to be thrown out. And this is where a transportation system becomes essential. And in multicellular organisms, a transport system works like a delivery network. That is, it picks up oxygen and nutrients from one part of the body and delivers them to all the cells and collects harmful waste from the cells to be removed. Is when cells use carbon-based food and oxygen to release energy, they also produce waste products like carbon dioxide and urea, and these byproducts, they are useless and sometimes they even harmful if not removed quickly. And that brings us to another essential life process, excretion. Excretion, it is the process of removing waste materials from the body, and just like nutrition or respiration, it also needs specialized tissues and a transport system to carry waste away from cells to the excretory organs. So life processes are the essential functions that maintain life, and these include nutrition, respiration, transport and excretion. Let us consider these various processes so essential to maintain life one by one. Whether we are walking, playing, or even just sitting still, our body needs energy to stay alive. But energy alone it is not enough. We also need materials to grow, develop, repair, damage, and build important things like proteins and enzymes. For all this, we need food, and the process by which living organisms take in food to get energy and materials is called nutrition. So now let us study the life process nutrition in detail. All living organisms need food, but the way they get it differs from one organism to another. Some organisms can prepare their own food using simple substances like carbon dioxide and water, and these organisms are called autotrophs, and the type of nutrition they follow is known as autotrophic nutrition. Examples: green plants, algae, and some photosynthetic bacteria. Other organisms, they cannot make their own food and they depend on plants or other animals for their nutrition. These are called heterotrophs, and the mode of nutrition they follow is called heterotrophic nutrition. Examples: animals, fungi, and many bacteria. So the two important types of nutrition based on the way in which the organisms get their food are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. The food taken in by heterotrophs, it is usually made up of complex substances, and these complex substances, it must be broken down into simpler forms before the body can use them. For these heterotrophs, they use special biocatalysts called enzymes to help in the digestion and absorption of food. Let us now understand how some organisms, including the world's largest producers, the green plants, are able to prepare their own food using simple substances like carbon dioxide and water. The green plants, we know that the green plants, they don't depend on others or they go to shops for food. They prepare their own food by themselves, and not only green plants but some bacteria, they are also capable of preparing their own food. And because they make food on their own, this type of nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. The word auto means self and trophic means nourishment. So autotrophic means self nourishment. In autotrophic nutrition, organisms like green plants, they take in simple substances from outside, that is mainly carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Then inside their leaves, using sunlight and the green pigment chlorophyll, they convert these materials into food. And this food, it is made in the form of carbohydrates, and these carbohydrates provide energy to the plant. The carbohydrates made by plants, they are not used all at once. The extra food it is, or the extra carbohydrate prepared by green plants, it is stored inside the plant in the form of starch, and this starch acts like an energy bank, so the plant can use it later whenever needed. A similar thing happens in our body too. Some of the energy from the food we eat is stored as glycogen in our muscles and liver. Now let us learn about the important process that helps green plants make their own food, and this process is called photosynthesis. The word photo means light and synthesis means to build or make. So photosynthesis simply means making food using light. In this process, green plants take in carbon dioxide from the air, water from the soil, and with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, they prepare a simple food called glucose and release oxygen as a byproduct. Do you know what actually happens during photosynthesis? Let us now see what truly goes on inside the green leaves during photosynthesis. And this amazing process, it takes place in three main steps. First step, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, it is the green pigment in the leaves. It captures sunlight. And the second step, conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules, that is conversion of energy and water splitting. It is the second step. Here the captured light, the sunlight which is captured by the chlorophyll, it is converted into chemical energy, that is light energy is converted into chemical energy, and the water molecules which are absorbed by the plant from the soil, those water molecules, they are split into hydrogen and oxygen. That is the second step. And the third step is reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. That is the carbon dioxide taken in from the air, it is reduced to carbohydrates like a glucose. Now what does reduction mean here? It simply means that hydrogen is added to carbon dioxide, and the hydrogen, it comes from the water molecules that were split earlier using sunlight. These steps of photosynthesis, it do not always happen one after the other immediately. For example, desert plants, they take in carbon dioxide at night and store it as an intermediate compound. Then during the day, they use sunlight and chlorophyll to complete the process of photosynthesis, and this helps them reduce water loss in hot, dry climates. How do plants actually do this magic? Well, to answer that, let us zoom in on a leaf. Here's the green little factories of the plant. If you carefully observe a cross section of a leaf under a microscope, you will notice something interesting. Tiny green dots inside the cells. And these green dots are called chloroplasts. And inside them lives a very special green pigment, chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is like the solar panel of the plant, and it captures sunlight and helps make food during photosynthesis. But how do we know chlorophyll is essential? Let us find out with a small activity. Take a variegated leaf. Variegated leaf means a leaf that has both green and white parts. Then boil the leaf in for a few minutes to kill the cells, and then place it in alcohol and heat it carefully using a water bath until the leaf becomes almost colorless. Rinse in warm water to soften it. Add a few drops of iodine solution. And what will you observe? The green areas of the leaf turn blue black. That is starch. That means starch is present there, meaning photosynthesis occurred. And the white areas do not change color because there was no chlorophyll and hence no photosynthesis happened there. So, chlorophyll is absolutely essential for photosynthesis. Without chlorophyll, the plant cannot make food, even if sunlight and carbon dioxide are present. Now, let us understand how plants get carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. If you remember from class 9, there are tiny pores on the surface of the leaves, and these pores are called stomata. In singular, it is called stoma. And through these stomata, a large amount of gaseous exchange takes place. That is, carbon dioxide enters and oxygen comes out during photosynthesis. But these tiny pores, they are not always open. Why? Because if they stay open all the time, the plant would lose a lot of water. So the plant uses guard cells to control these openings. When water flows into the guard cells, they swell up and the stomatal pore opens. And when the plant wants to conserve water, what will the guard cells do? The guard cells shrink and the pore closes. So the plant opens stomata when carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis and closes it when it is not needed carbon dioxide to save water. Take two healthy potted plants and keep them in a dark room for 3 days. And now place each plant on separate glass plates, and near one of the plants place a watch glass containing potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide, it is a substance which is used to absorb carbon dioxide. Then cover both plants with separate bell jars and use Vaseline to seal the bottom of the jars to the glass plate so that the setup is airtight, and then keep the plants in sunlight for about 2 hours. Pluck a leaf from each plant and check for the presence of starch as in our above activity, and then do both the leaves. They show the presence of same amount of starch, or what can you conclude from this activity? What is your observation here? The leaf from the plant without potassium hydroxide turns blue black. That means starch is present. That is, photosynthesis takes place in that leaf or in that plant. And in the second leaf, or the leaf from the plant with potassium hydroxide, it does not turn blue black. That means no starch is formed there. That is, no photosynthesis takes place there. Why? Because potassium hydroxide, it is a substance which absorbs carbon dioxide. As there was no carbon dioxide, even though sunlight is present, photosynthesis does not take place. So carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. So far we learned how plants make their own food using sunlight, but for building their body, they also need raw materials like water and minerals. Water comes from the soil through roots, and minerals like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, magnesium help in making important things like proteins. Nitrogen is especially important, and the plants absorb it either as nitrates or as organic compounds prepared by helpful bacteria. So now we understood what are life processes, why food is essential, and how autotrophs like green plants prepare food through photosynthesis. In the next part, we will explore heterotrophic nutrition. Hi students, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to share it with your friends, subscribe to Genius Blossom, and leave your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Your support really helps us grow. Thank you for watching.